Everywhere you look, there's change. People change, business change, you change, your partner change, your mother change, your father changes. Everything about change is totally prevalent. And there's a bigger change coming. Are you ready? Have you mastered it? Why don't we dig in? Come on. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Georgiana, and this is the lovely space where we talk about life lessons learned from K-dramas, Nollywood movies, and Black films. And today's life lesson is coming to you from the movie Hidden Figures. It is a 2016 movie. It stars Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, Kevin Costner, and many, many more. The general synopsis states, three female African American mathematicians play a pivotal role in astronaut John Glenn's launch into orbit. Meanwhile, they also have to deal with racial and gender discrimination at work. This was actually my first time watching Hidden Figures. Forgive me, do not judge me. But it was very much inspiring, motivating, and just brilliant, and just a great thing to see these women overcome whatever challenges they had to overcome in order to move the narrative forward for Black people, period. Not just Black women, but for Black people. So it was great to finally watch Hidden Figures. But we're taking our life lesson from the role that Octavia Spencer played, which is Dorothy Vaughan. And her story was really what inspired me to really evaluate how we process change and how we need to master change, right? And how significant it is. Because one thing is constant, and that's change.
The data processing system. It has the capability of solving over 24,000 multiplications per second.
Holy Moses, that's lightning fast. They'll never get back to work.
Oh, it'll run eventually. And when it does, we have to know how to program it. Unless you'd rather be out of a job.
No.
If you've never heard that, that is very much the fact of life, that change will always happen. It's just how do you prepare for it? Your partner will change, you will change, your business will change, your career will change. There is so many facets of change that it's impossible to hide from it. Okay, so they were computers, essentially. These women, they were good at math and, brilliant minds and just incredible, right? And so the astronauts, or the engineers, they use them to calculate, space orbit and all of that. Okay, I'm not going to get into all the technical stuff because I can't say that my mind is that brilliant that I understand it. But anyways, so things are changing, right? IBM is coming in, right, to create this system that will basically make these human computers, because they were called computers, make these human computers obsolete, right? But Octavia's character, Dorothy, she goes in and she sees this computer that, IBM has come up with. It's going to replace them essentially. And so she learns more about it, and then she shares it with the other women just so they are prepared for this change. So, how do we master change? We master change by staying curious, right? You stay curious with your partner, you stay curious with your parents, you stay curious with your business, your job. There shouldn't be a word called comfortable in our dictionary, in our narrative, because it's not, it's something that makes us afraid of change. But when you stay curious, everything is challenging. You're constantly learning about that person, about that business, about that job, about that program you're interested in at school, at college, whatever it is, right? We have to stay curious. Don't get comfortable because you never know everybody. You never know every single thing about one person because one thing is they're also evolving. So you've got to now learn something new about that partner. You have to now learn something new about that class. There is always some type of change. So you have to stay curious about stuff. I love new experiences because it just kind of pushes me out of my comfort zone. And so staying curious is really important to me. Learning new things, right? And absorbing them and applying them, right? When you stay curious, you stay ahead. And so you don't get freaked out, right? I think the latest version of, big change that involves all of us, that's coming for all of us, is AI, right? Everyone's like freaked out. Oh, it's going to replace my job, my work. It's going to take my job from me. It's going to take this. I mean, heck, it can also replace your partner, right? There are things being built, chatbots that are being built soon. I'm sure there are robots as well that are out there that are trying to take the place of human touch. I mean, it is very scary. I get it. I understand it. But you've got to stay curious by learning, by not being afraid, by thinking outside the box, like how do I use this in my life? Like, how do I make this work? That is the mindset you've got to have. The mindset of curiosity is going to help you master change. As I say this, I also say this to myself because I'm panicking. Like, shoot, Chad DBT can write a story, and it's just how do you make this work? How do you adapt to this? Not to where you get comfortable, but also how do you incorporate it? The next thing is that you've got to seize the opportunity once presented, which means don't hide. Because you're ready, because you've stayed curious, because you now understand what that change looks like, you can now seize the opportunity. They were ready for it, right? The men that were in there trying to set up this machine and all of it, make it work, they didn't even really know. So now the women now became, these human computers now became something that they needed, right? It makes you indispensable. So when you've learned what that thing is, you've learned that new skill, you've learned that new thing about your man or your woman, and it's like, okay, now how do I seize the opportunity just so you're not left behind? You've got to seize the opportunity. Don't be afraid, just go for it. And especially with a recession coming through, we've got to seize the opportunity. We've got to, but in all of this, pray. Let God guide you, let God lead you. Because in Proverbs 3, it says, commit all your ways to Him, right? Nothing is new to God. Like nothing is new to Him. He knows all things. So when there is a change coming, always consult God. How do I deal with this? What is my role here? What do I do to support my man or support my woman? What is my role, right? When this change comes in, what is my role? But do not hide. If you take anything else from mastering change, do not hide from it. Do not pretend like it's not happening, because what's going to happen is that you're going to be left behind. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for myself. So do not get left behind. Master change. Master change. Stay curious. Seize the opportunity. Seek God on what your role is when it comes to this change. So it's that time for me to encourage us with a scripture. And this one is coming to you from Daniel 11, verse 32. And it states, "And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits." And so I did look up the word exploits, and it said to make full use of and derive benefits. Another one says make use of a situation in a way that it might be considered unfair or underhanded. All right. So when it says strong, you can still be vulnerable and be strong, right? I'm not saying that you mask that, oh gosh, this change is not killing me, right? Like this change is not hurting me, right? Whether it's financial changes, relationship change, like your partner is changing, whatever change is occurring in your life currently, being vulnerable and being honest with God does not mean you're not strong. The fact that you can go to God and say, God, this is hard, but I know that your word says this, is you showing up strong. And then you still do exploit, right? You still adapt to that change. Do not cave under that change. Essentially, do not let what you are seeing, whether with AI, whether in your partner, whether in your business, make you crumble. Stand strong. Stand strong. You can do exploits. What God has sent you here to do is not going to be easy. But face that change that is occurring, that is shaking up your comfort zone, right? If we stay curious, and we stay ahead of the change, right? There is nothing we cannot face. We are meant to do exploit. There is nothing that is unfair or underhanded that God is not in, right? And so we can rise up and do exploits with that thing that has become a change that you think you cannot handle. But I am telling you that if you know God, you will do exploits with that condition that has turned your life upside down. All right, that is it for me on this episode. If you enjoyed it or it has blessed you in some shape or form, please go ahead and share it with someone, and please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe just so you don't miss whenever we drop new content. I want to thank you so much for listening. Until next time, please take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and be kind to others. Bye, y'all.